My name is Fatiha Kheddaoui. I live in Hawaii at the moment. My work is about movement of people and migrants. I define myself as a nomadic artist. And in this series, this piece is part of a concept that I created in 2008. Because living in Hawaii, I wanted to use a window screen that I noticed as first time I moved, which it was not from the place I was living or I visited in Europe or in Africa. So it was confusing to me that people didn't notice. So it was very visible to me. And when I did my master, I noticed that embroidery, many years ago, was something that spoke to me because it's universal and it's in many cultures. And I wanted to embroider my view and using it as my medium. So this is part of the series Debris. Transitioning is part of a pieces that I'm making, and I continuously making some about places of war and where are those people coming from, addressing the flow of news that we generally have. And for example, I have made one about Aleppo, the bombing of Aleppo and people coming out, and just so much amount of destruction. And because I was, it's well, the new contemporary nomads are in the making as we do see, and you question why is there so many people, and we just almost becoming norms of all of those news that we have on our social media or on the net. So I want to kind of get some of those places and discuss, start the conversation about where are those people coming from and what's going on, and just kind of let's pause. Instead of having a flow of news, let's pause. And this piece is about the migrants camp in Libya. Libya is a no man's land, so there's a reason people are going through it, because it's also part of Africa, so they're coming through it, and they get caught and put in camp. And on trucks, so I was struck by this image that I looked on the news, and I started to be wanting to kind of address the transition place in a no man's land, because those people are hoping to go to Europe. And it is important for me to kind of looking at this piece, and when I embroider, I'm thinking about the shadow casting. So my other pieces are nomadic view, where I embroider my view and I screen print. On this one I don't, because I generally want to scatter the stitching and kind of make the shadows talk for themselves and no need to place. And yeah, that's pretty much what this piece is about. And I'm making a second one. I'm having others. It's a series, so on and on. And my first piece on this series was about Ukraine, and it was Donetsk. It was a one that I found about the airport, and it's actually how I started this series. And now I'm looking at it, I'm oh my God, it was a bombing in 2014. That's an image that I stumbled into, and it's just, and now it's back again. And it's kind of the cycle. It's yeah, it is no shortage of material for me, for sure. It's a long process, but at the same time, I can, with a stitch, I pause and I reflect, and I'm hoping that people are seeing, those ghosts, they're human beings. They're kind of noticing them, even if you just screen through. I think that's how you say it. That it's just pause a little and just think about it.